Hello, everybody. I hope you guys are all doing amazing. I wish that we could have done this in person, but we're going to try and make this work. So, today I am really excited because I have a lesson for you on pollination. So, to begin, we're going to start with our learning objectives, which are how do flowers produce seeds for reproduction, and what is this process called? We're going to start talking about the flower. The inside of a flower has many parts that help with making new flowers. One of these parts is the anther, and this part is responsible for making the pollen. If you can see my mouse right here, this little part, if you look closely, you can see that it has a powdery-like substance on it. That's called the pollen, and the part that's holding it is called the anther. Flowers also have eggs that need pollen for fertilization. When the eggs have pollen from a different flower, the flower produces seeds. So we just talked about how flowers need pollen to make seeds, but how does pollen move from flower to flower? So if some of you said insects, you are correct. So today we're going to be focusing on a bee. So many insects, like bees, move from flower to flower. When the bee lands on a flower, it picks up the pollen. As the bees move from flower to flower, they leave a little bit of pollen behind each time. So now we're going to talk about what happens to the flower. So when the pollen that the bee left behind goes into the flower, the pollen fertilizes the egg. Once the pollen fertilizes the eggs within the flower make seeds. So now, just to help you guys visualize what that process is, we are going to watch a YouTube video.
Oh, you're getting an early start today. Oh, yeah. We bees get an early start every day. Those flowers need a lady's touch, and they're about to get it in the form of worker bees.
Worker bees are female bees.
Exactly. The worker bees are the ones who collect all the pollen and nectar.
And that's how those flowers are able to reproduce.
It's called pollination. Yep.
Yes, that's right. Pollination is the process of transferring pollen from one flower to another. This causes fertilization, the thing that makes new flowers grow.
Not just flowers, but plants, veggies, and fruit to be exact. Plus, pollen is a great source of protein. Well, to bees, that is. Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're making quite a mess.
Oh, no worries, Miss Honeycomb. It's all part of the job. Oh, see how the pollen sticks to the worker bee? Yeah, while they're out there collecting pollen to eat, some of it rubs off onto the flowers. This will cause the pollination that flowers need.
That's right. They have a very important job, bee. Did you know that bees are responsible for over 80% of all pollination?
Oh, yeah, and there are some plants that rely solely on bees in order to grow.
Like almonds. Without the honeybee, they wouldn't even exist.
A world without almonds.
Okay, so let's jump right back into our lesson. So now we're going to do a little bit of review. I'm going to ask you guys some questions to see what you guys learned. So what gets carried from flower to flower? If you guys said pollen, you were correct. And here's a little picture of pollen on a honeybee, and this is how the pollen gets dropped off on different flowers. So the next question, what is this process called? And I'll give you guys a little hint. It's the name of this lesson. If you said pollination, you were right. So let's just summarize what we learned today. So going back to our learning objectives, how do flowers produce seeds for reproduction, and what is this process called? Well, what we learned today was bees move from flower to flower. As the bees move, they give new pollen to each flower that they land on. The pollen then fertilizes the flower, fertilizes the egg in the flower, so the flower can make seeds. This whole process is called pollination. And because of pollination, we can plant new seeds and grow more flowers. That's the end of today's lesson, and I will see you guys next time.